Paradigm shift.
An educational comedy.
It's not a cause, not a movement.
It's not a social group you can slap a label onto.
It's an idea. It's an intention.
It's an intuition.
A mindset in which reality can be explored.
Through genuine expression,
Discernment.
critical thinking, and imagination.
To look inward upon ourselves.
To better understand the external world around us.
And yes,
Few egos are bound to be bruised.
With our silly, zany, politically incorrect,
George Carlin and Bill Hicks style of going about things.
real and raw honesty.
Which invites you to be
to the fullest.
Hello everybody, and welcome back to yet another edition of Paradigm Shift and Educational Comedy. I'm Dave Kelso, and here's Richard Hamilton, aka GeneralTate.deviantart.com. And in today's episode, see, this video is not about debating the topic, but rather a discussion on how to continue to be kind and respectful to flat earthers, even if they are throwing massive shade at you. In my experiences, they tend to have this whole Anikan Skywalker, "You're either with me, or you're a truth-hating moron who is purposely being a troll or is just an idiot," sort of attitude when people ask questions. Much as the so-called elites deem it to be arrogant, patronizing, and condescending, when us lowly, useless eaters dare question what they say about reality, so too has pretty much every flat earther I personally have seen react the same way. However, if any of the flat earthers wanted to come on for a conversation about real questions and real science and without all the name calling and the shade throwing and all that, it would be my pleasure to have them on as a guest and hear them out. In the meantime, when faced with adversity, the most sane and rational thing to do is to not throw shade back. This doesn't mean to not share your feelings out of fear that the PC police might drop the hammer. It means let them drop the hammer and don't be the 101st lemming off the cliff. Adversity will be offended by you no matter how calm you are or not. But that doesn't mean it's smart, wise, sane, or rational to react the same way in kind. So turning the other cheek is not about taking it up the butt. It's about being the best person you can be, because you understand that you making your life less neurotic and more functional gives you positive benefit. That's not a selfish thing either, because the only thing in life you can control is yourself. So why not be the best self you can be, regardless of who might take it the wrong way? And people will. Speak and be misunderstood, as the old quote says. And yes, that is actually a quote. I just don't feel like looking up the author at the moment. But hey, quality over quantity. Make peace with the fact that the world isn't obligated to like you or be your friend, and that is totally fine. It can be challenging enough to make time for several dozen friends, much less 7 billion of them. So I'm going to start with shutting up and letting Richard toss out his questions first, because what we're going to do as a demonstration of how to be more kind to flat earthers is, instead of bashing them or this or that or whatever, to think of as many serious, logical, scientific questions as we can, perfectly valid questions that, we genuinely want them to answer. Just kind of see how many we can come up with, and hopefully that'll help you have a list, so that if you happen to have an encounter, with these guys and you feel they're being a bit forceful, you can just toss out these questions like, hey, well, I got some questions. I'm kind of curious. Here they are. And yeah, in my opinion, do I think they'll be able to answer them? No. But they're still completely valid questions, my opinion aside, and still totally worth asking. So take it away.
Okay. Well, as Dave said, and if anybody's new to this channel, my name is Richard Hamilton, or aka General Tate. Currently run a page on DeviantArt, and I have a YouTube channel called USMC Tate, where I upload some of these videos that we do. I haven't had really much time lately. Before I go into things, though, I will just say, any of you who do pay attention and do follow me, if you're wondering why I've been absent, I've been busy with school and getting my EMT degree or getting my certification and licensure for becoming an emergency medical technician in the state of Oregon. I haven't really had a chance to be online as of late, and been really busy with life, and it's kind of good to be back. Actually, it's been a while, but anyway, without further delay. One of the biggest things I've noticed with flat earth types, or anybody who's into these outrageously out of proportion, can't be proven type of theories.
Your opinion, TM, and mine as well.
Quite. Yeah, in my opinion, one thing that I have noticed about conspiracy theories in general when it comes to regards of astronomy and aerospace and humanity's role in those discoveries, or in just existing within the universe, I've found some very colorful theories over the years, and I'm not a full licensed expert on aviation yet, but I have all the knowledge and the know-how to be. I just don't have the actual physical license in my hand that says, "Oh, well, I'm an official expert," but I'm about as close to any expert that isn't licensed that you're ever going to find probably within the Northern Hemisphere. But anyway, without further continuation, one of the major things that comes to mind with people like this, to me, is just the sheer lack of understanding and or general perspective that these people have when they make claims such as saying, well, the earth is flat. And it's like, well, okay, that's a blanket statement. Why don't you go ahead and expound on that idea? Why is it flat? And they go, well, it's flat because, etc. I was watching this NASA video on YouTube. I can't remember what kind of video it was. I think it was NASA update video or something about, I think it had to do with President Trump signing something to do with space or whatever. Something that's beneficial for NASA. Well, some random YouTube commenter, troll or whatever, on the topic of flat earthers, comments on there. He goes, "Oh, all the NASA images are CG. Google flat Earth." And I'm just kind of thinking to myself, well, that's an empty statement, because Googling something doesn't prove to me, or to anybody else for that matter, that the earth is flat. It's like, well, when you make a statement, as an amateur scientist myself, using the scientific method, I want to see you go through the process of how you came to this conclusion, not just say, oh, well, the earth is flat because unicorns and fairies and because I say so. That's not science. That's,
in my personal
dogma.
opinion,
It's pure dogma.
In my personal opinion, I would love to know how they quote unquote CGI faked all that stuff back in the 50s and 60s. What time machine they used to go forward to the future to to grab a couple of modern day PCs and, to bring that back in time to the 50s and 60s to then be able to use those to generate, all of this fake CGI that they otherwise wouldn't have had the technology to do without, of course, the assistance of Doc Brown and Marty McFly. So, I mean, that's one of my questions, definitely. Like, because one of the big things that they say is, oh, it's all fake. All the pictures from NASA completely fake. All the footage completely fake. It's all fake. It's always been fake. The Earth is flat. The end. All satellite images fake, 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 fake. I was like, okay, well, like, I mean, I could understand if, like, we knew nothing about space until like 10, 15 years ago, and we still had our current level of technology, but just we didn't have the interest of trying to go up there, and this is like all new, right? Totally all new. So I can understand people saying, well, there's software even at the regular user level, average person, even for free, things like Blender 3D and Lightworks and all sorts of crazy free and open source softwares that it will install in just about every OS you can think of. That that if you've got the skill, they can make totally realistic, looking fake stuff that it can be really hard to tell the difference if you do a good enough job. But it's like, where if that technology existed, like literally as good as it is now, if it existed back in the 50s and 60s, I would love to see evidence of that. I mean, I'm not opposed to the idea of angels, demons, ETs, whomever, whatever, making deals with governments and sharing knowledge and technology to accelerate things for agendas and whatever, like whether you want to do it on the spiritual angels and demons thing or the ET thing or whatever. I'm not opposed to the idea that there might be some outside source that we don't know about that can influence us. Okay. But at the same time, if somebody's going to say, yes, that literally actually happened, then it's not stupid to ask for proof.
Okay, just because you asked me to get on my soapbox here, I'm still want to continue on.
Okay, cool. I was just kind of validating what you're saying, because obviously you have the knowledge of this and I don't, and just as someone who's not an expert in aviation on the outside looking in, I'm just sharing my perspective, and then you're going to add in all sorts of things on.
Yep. Well, anyway, continuing. Besides that, I do want to pull this little tidbit up. I was referencing this to Dave earlier. This was a documentary that was done known as James May on the Moon. It was done by BBC, and he basically talked with a bunch of the Apollo astronauts, basically did a whole documentary on, what was it like to be a lunar astronaut. Well,
do me a favor, and if you're going to play that, make that screen smaller to reduce the chances of third-party matching and YouTube Nazism.
Can do.
Thanks.
And let's cooperate here. You stupid thing. Come on. Come on. Come on, you stupid video. Okay, just make this big enough so that way everybody can see
cool.
it.
Right there, good. I can see that perfectly clear, and it's not huge on the screen, but I can still see it perfectly clear.
Okay, here we go. So I did mute the sound as well, so that way there's no soundtrack that can be linked potentially to the YouTube copyright Nazis, because they can go fuck themselves and they're a bunch of worthless sacks of shit. So is Google, because they cut all of the abilities to be able to download YouTube videos on Chrome. That's one thing that Firefox at least has over YouTube over Chrome at the moment for YouTube. Anyway, continuing on, this was a documentary that was done by the BBC. This is fast forwarded to the point in the documentary where James is about to go up in the U-2 spy plane. And if you don't know who James May is, he is well known in the UK for Top Gear, or the former show of Top Gear, where they would test all these various cars and different stuff. And they still do reruns of it on the BBC. But anyway, continuing on here, you can see that they're about to taxi out in a Lockheed U-2 spy plane, which, if anybody doesn't know, the U-2 spy plane is a 1950s reconnaissance aircraft that was built specifically to do high-altitude overflies of the Soviet Union and was capable of flying in altitudes of excess of 80 to 100,000 feet.
So suborbital?
Well, no, not suborbital, just super high altitude, upper atmosphere, and could fly in speeds close to 600 miles an hour. Very unstable airplane to fly, hard airplane to fly. Lands on the tricycle undercarriage, which you can just kind of see down in the bottom of the screen there. Bicycle wheels, see there's about one of the wheels there, and that'll be demonstrated, should be demonstrated a little later, hopefully. Climbs straight up, just like so. This is one of the two-seat training variants that they developed specifically. This is a later variation of the U-2 that was developed later in the 70s. This is a next generation form of the U-2. It's not the original design, but it's one of the later generations of U-2 spy planes. Modified and redesigned by Lockheed Martin. They went back and redid the design from the ground up. The drawing board remanufactured and built new airframes. But anyway, here you can see they're at the altitude of Mount Everest already. Can't really tell that the Earth is curved yet, but you can kind of start to get an idea of the horizon. You can really kind of start to see things. If you're standing outside, you'd be feeling pretty spiffy at that altitude without oxygen. And of course, if you weren't prepared, you'd probably just pass out if you did too much exertion. And then they're there at 50,000 feet. Now that's starting to get pretty high up there. I mean, you know, that's, you might almost call that the edge of space, because if you're outside at that altitude, you'd essentially just cook, you'd boil. And then this is a pretty unique aspect. But that little streak right there, that little contrail or chemtrail, as some people refer it to, that contrail right there is basically from a commercial jetliner that's flying along at about 30,000 feet. And they're basically as high above that airliner as you would be here on the ground, to give you some perspective as to really how high they are at this point.
It's only a chemtrail if it gets thicker as it gets lower and doesn't dissipate, whereas contrails dissipate much like, you know, your breath on a winter day. It goes away, it doesn't expand.
Well, it depends on what the atmosphere is doing. I'd still like to do more. As my scientific mind is, we've already discussed that topic. I'd still like to do more scientific.
And we've also looked at videos from Geo.
Yeah, we have. I'm just saying, I've already done my discussion on that one. I would like, when humanity is at that point, I would like to see.
I'm just wanting to mention I'm just wanting to mention for the audience that because chemtrails is deemed as more like a childish conspiracy nut term, the professional scientists use the term geoengineering, not chemtrails. So if you want to get scientist perspective and not some, you know, tinfoil hat guy in his basement, then do a search for geoengineering.
Anyway, moving on. Yeah, and they're there at 60,000 feet. You can see on the altimeter there. Continuing to climb ever so higher. But here we are. We start to get to the altitude at 60 or 70,000 feet where that curve, where that horizon, that broad horizon really starts to show the curve.
I can see it, and keep the video paused right there, but keep talking, because I want to take a screenshot of that, load it in GIMP, and then draw a straight line across the horizon.
It's not just, this isn't the only, it gets better.
Oh, I know.
Just watch. Anyway, he's zooming in, just getting kind of that panorama. Mind you, this is all just from the back seat of a U.S. Air Force U-2. He got lucky enough to be taken up by Beale Air Force Base, which is in Central California. He was lucky enough to get to go up in the U-2 spy plane. So they're up at operating altitude right now. 70, 80,000 feet, which is standard operating altitude. They're there eating lunch and all of that stuff, looking around. Yeah, 70,000 feet, climbing up, still getting higher.
And just to remind the rest of the class, what year was this?
There it is, right there.
Whoa! What year? What year?
James May on the moon. I can do a quick little Google search here. We can look that up right now. It's relatively recent. It was made in 2009.
It's not what I'm asking. I'm asking when the flight happened, not when the documentary was made.
That information I don't have available. They don't really give a timestamp as to when the flight actually occurred.
Well, what would you gauge it at, roughly?
Oh, time of year, looking at it, I would say over California, when they took off, I would say springtime. Happened around spring.
No, I mean, like, was this 1950? Was this 1960? Was this 1970? Was this 1980? When did this flight happen?
This flight in the film, this happened just like not even too long before the film was released. So now we're talking only recently, not even 10 years ago.
Oh, really? That's cool.
That's
so
what I mean. This was a recent flight. This is they didn't have, if you'd been paying attention to them, they didn't have camcorders back in 1950, 60, 70. But
they did have cameras that they could mount onto things. That they had.
Yeah, and they were big and bulky, and they ran on film canisters. This is all digital. But anyway, continuing on, this is more recent, but here you can see, right here, here's the curvature of the Earth. You can clearly see that curve. I
would like to ask a question, and this is mostly a question for the flat earthers. I'm sure the first flat earther response to this would be, "Oh, CGI, fake, all fake. I would like the flat earthers to, look at where you have that paused and you can see the curve of the Earth and all that. If it was fake, there's going to be some sort of artifact that you could zoom in on. There's going to be little tells, if you know what you're looking for, as to whether or not something was fake CGI nonsense or whether or not it really happened. Like, I could take a video with my camcorder and you could analyze it and you could see that actually was a video that I stood there and took. Versus, if I was like 100 times better at, making videos than I am, and I'm pretty good as it is, but if I was like 100 times better, it could make like epically awesome, near perfect, fake stuff, then there's still going to be little artifacts in the footage, just due to the fact that the way these programs render stuff, there's going to be little bitty graphical artifacts, from the rendering process, because anything humans make isn't perfect. So it's going to have, little flaws and things, little tells. Just like one thing that's kind of cool, like there was this other manuscript that came out, like, that was discovered. I forgot the name of it, but it was supposedly like another book that Hitler wrote or something like that. But it was just hearsay. They had the original papers and everything. It was all hearsay. And the way they proved it is apparently all the different like typewriters and stuff that were used, all the different makes and models of typewriters, the ink was used a certain way, and the way the little pieces were designed, you know, the ones that press the ink into the paper and hit, like there's certain artifacts about that, and the way the letters are shaped, and you know, there's just certain tells about it to where they can actually take an original type piece of paper from decades ago and actually match it back to the exact make and model of freaking typewriter that was used. And obviously Hitler would have used, you know, very specific types. So though it doesn't absolutely prove that Hitler 100% typed it, it raises the probability, like,
to sum it up, it's essentially using deductive reasoning, and it's like in any criminal investigation, you can easily defragment and decode something that's a total fraud as compared to the genuine, which is impossible because it actually happened.
Yeah, if you know what you're doing.
If you know what you're doing.
So I would just like to know from the flat earthers where the tells are in this video. I'd like them to zoom in and point out to me, like, okay, that section of the screen there, Dave, you see this and this and this. Well, you notice that only happens when it's running through a particular, you know, CGI rendering process using this and this and this, and then that creates that artifact. And if you look over here, you could see that this was placed in front of this, because if it was actually a real video, then it would look like this, and so on and so forth. I would really love any flat earther that has like advanced, like, you know, computer knowledge and skill within these realms of multimedia to examine that documentary, which apparently can be looked up on and seen on YouTube and stuff, exactly how you got it and downloaded it, to watch that documentary. And please, if you can point out,
I downloaded I actually pulled this one off of a torrent. You want to watch it on YouTube, you got to pay for it.
Ah, okay. Well, even paying for it, it's only like $2 or $3 or something on the rentals. And, you know, if a flat earther really wants to prove their point badly enough, you know, you'll spend the $2 or $3 if need be, or you'll find the torrent, or, you know, whatever you go about it to do. But get a copy of the original video, analyze it really closely, and by all means, come back to me and say, here, look, Dave, let me show you exactly why this is fake. Let me show you all the little tells in the video. Let me explain exactly what type of rendering processes create these little tells, and etc. I mean, if one of them were willing to do that, well, fuck yeah, I'd be open to listening. I wouldn't just laugh it off like, yeah, fuck it, whatever. No, I'd be more than happy to be very careful and attentive, paying strict close attention to everything they're pointing out, just to see for myself. Because, you know, for a lot of these flat earthers, in my opinion, for them, it's all about just throwing their weight around and being right. It's almost like, you know, flat earther equals midlife crisis. And if you look at most of the people who buy into those theories, most of them are around the age of 50 anyway, midlife crisis age. That's besides the point. Maybe it's just a little coinkydink there, but I don't know. But anyway, regardless, if anyone just really wants to show me some like hard evidence like that, instead people are like, oh, water seeks its own level. It's like, but that's not proof of anything. That would be like me saying, okay, well, the number 5 exists, and marital statuses exist, so the number 5 must have a marital status, and just because you don't see a ring on that little bastard doesn't mean the number 5 doesn't have one.
Okay.
It's the same kind of logic to me.
Continuing back to the scientific point of what I'm going into here, you can see the clear curvature of the Earth, and if you get high enough up in the atmosphere, you can go see it for yourself, assuming if you have the means and the capability to do it, and there are ways to do it. I saw this video on Facebook. I guess there's this place called, I want to say it's McFlug, and it's like in New York, but anyway, you can pay like $2,000, and you can fly a fighter jet with no previous experience, you know, with the help of a trained pilot instructor. Of course, you know, you're going to go up with somebody who knows what the hell is going on, and you can steer the airplane around, do whatever. They'll hand you the controls, you know, and apparently they do offer trips to where you can go up to altitudes like this and actually see that sort of stuff. And I mean, if you're well off, middle class or upper middle class or wealthy, you know, you can go do this stuff, or you can even do the cheaper alternatives of, and I'll get back to this here in a minute. Let's go to YouTube here.
$2,000 isn't bad, and especially if someone claims
$2,000 is the equivalent to a first class international flight, you know, 10 or 13 hour flight. And that's when you're talking like first class, full lap of luxury on one of the fanciest airlines that you can think of, where you basically got a fold down bed, you've got world class food and everything else. That's essentially what $2,000 gets you.
Or a 1 week or a 1 week vacation to someplace really awesome, or a halfway decent used car.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, continuing. GoPro. Space.
Like, seriously, if I was a flat earther watching this, I would want to take that flight. Even if it was for the only reason of, I'm going to bring a portable camcorder up there and I'm going to debunk it. And I'm going to show people that I'm going to go up that high and the earth is still flat. Even if it's for that reason, if I was a flat earther, I would totally want to save up the $2,000 to go do that. Because regardless of the end result, whether the earth is round or flat, it'd be pretty epic to go up in a fucking plane like that.
Okay.
I mean, let's face it, right?
Here we go. Here's one of the many videos you can just Google for or type into YouTube search bar yourself. Here's a GoPro video on launching a rocket to the edge of space, you know, and this.
Explain first what a GoPro video is for the uninitiated.
Okay, GoPro video camera is one of those little portable video cameras that's got a little SD card that you put into it, and you can, I imagine, I don't own one, so I don't know what the specifics on all of the different GoPros are, but the ones that I know of, you can have like an SD card, you can record live streaming footage of stuff that you do. I mean, most people use them for like outdoor activities such as riding motorbikes or snowboarding, surfing, parasailing, jumping out of airplanes, skydiving, wingsuiting, all of that stuff, where you're basically flying along in one of those suits. I can play a few different
recording police when you get stopped.
Yeah, recording police. Yeah, various infinite number of uses that a GoPro can be used for. But anyway, this is one of those applicationable uses. They basically put a GoPro camera on a rocket and they launch it to the edge of space. And here we go. Let's read the caption here. Date November 6th, 2015. Location Spaceport America, New Mexico. Project SL-10 launch. Mission deploy Maria capsule into space. Okay, so this one's going to launch something into space, test the aerodynamics and stability of the payload on re-entry at speeds of up to Mach 2.5. So this was a actual flight test of some technology that they were doing. I've seen this video before, but here's the GoPro camera, different GoPros mounted on the rocket in various parts. Getting ready. Yeah. Got the little counter in the corner telling you what's going on. Okay, we got liftoff.
And this is why you are the perfect one to do these sorts of hangouts with, because you know way the fuck more about aviation than me.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're launching. You can already see that the airspeed and the altitude have just gone through the roof. It's already past Mach 3, Mach 4, Mach 5. Looks like it's pushing Mach 5 now. Holding on Mach 4. Mach 3, slowing down again. Mach 2. See, here's the curvature of the Earth. Yeah, now we're down at 90 miles an hour. Slows right back down again as gravity gets its hold. And until it goes into the vacuum of space. Okay.
Now, who exactly made this video? Like the GoPro company, or was it some private?
This is the GoPro channel itself. This one, I guess, won some competition of theirs. As to who actually made the video, I have no idea, but it's on.
And there's the curvature of the Earth. Now I know
yeah.
what flat earthers are going to say, and my response is the same. Oh, that was all faked. Well, so every
okay, Dave, I'm going to stop you right there because we're just going in a loop. Okay, so this is going into my point, whether it be this video or this video. Let's scroll all the way back, all the way back, all the way back, all the way back. This is where I like to debunk people. Right here. You're going to tell me this is fake. Would any moron in their right mind say that that's fake? This little platform here, is it fake? Yes or no? Made up? Yes or no?
Doesn't look like it to me. I mean, you know, there's no solid evidence.
Would there be any reason? Going beyond yes or no, is there any logical reason for somebody to fake structure just sitting there?
Not really. Not that
in the middle of nowhere. Is there any logical purpose for it?
And if it was going to be faked, why would it be faked by a tiny little YouTube channel that's selling cameras? Why wouldn't it be faked by big massive government?
No, GoPro isn't tiny. They've got 4.9 million subscribers. I would not call them tiny, and GoPro is not a tiny company.
And you know who else has 4.9 million subscribers? What's the name of that? Well, at least that many, probably more. What's the name of that channel? The one where the guy's up there going, "I'm a banana, and all that other like ridiculousness, and like he brings in a killing.
PewDiePie.
Yeah.
That guy.
He makes like millions a year on like
just for being a complete
Yeah, so like, you know, okay, so a channel's got millions of followers. For me, that's a whole big line of so the fuck what, because you know
but anyway, semantics aside, we're getting off track with this. Continuing back, there's no logical reason for anybody, especially private company launching rockets to test payloads, to just fake something. And fast forwarding. Okay, so here it is sitting on the pad. You can tell it's a real launch pad. You can tell that's real cement. You can tell that's a real dirt road. We've all seen a dirt road. We all know what a cement pad looks like because we step on them, you know, whether it be in the front of your house or out at some industrial facility somewhere in a gate. We all know what that shit looks like. There's no way you're going to fake that. And going forward, American flag fluttering in the background as it should. Nice sunny day. Looks like the middle of the summer. You know, rocket launch pad there. Looks like it's been used. Okay, there it is igniting. Firing, 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 firing again. Okay, right here it's already at Mach 3. It's already punched that hard and gone that fast, which is impressive. And here you can see the dirt road here in the background. You can see where the facility is, the little pad there. You can see that all perfectly in the background. That doesn't go anywhere when you're kind of looking at it frame by frame. And
I also am not seeing any rendering glitches as you
no,
because
there's absolutely none.
If you look at any PSEC video that I put together in like the Kdenlive editor, or any of these like fan films like Star Trek Axanar or Star Trek Horizon, or pick your fan film, you can take those apart and see all sorts of artifacts that make it completely obvious that shit was CGI. But I don't personally see that in there. And if someone who knows a hell of a lot more than me about these multimedia technologies can look at that and point something out that I'm missing, I welcome it.
I can tell you right now, this isn't faked. You can tell by the background it's not faked. You can clearly distinguish the terrain on the mountains from the ground. You can tell everything is crystal clear. There's absolutely nothing there that is being faked or reproduced. And my thing to all these flat earthers who want to go on conspiracy theory tin hat hour, absolutely, what's the purpose of a company like this who's just doing stuff for fun to make some money and to, you know, benefit mankind? What purpose are they making by continuing the conspiracy of claiming that the Earth is round? You know, the illogical, the logical fallacy that exists around that is just absolutely astonishing. You know,
I have a question, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
My question is, what, you know, let's play devil's advocate. Whatever the shape of the Earth is, whether it's flat or round or triangle or whatever the hell it is, right? Let's just, for the sake of argument, just kind of put it out there. How does the shape of the Earth, regardless of shape, somehow magically prevent war and genocide and environmental pollution and all the things that are you know, negatively impact us and all the dysfunctions we do? So, like, okay, let's hypothetically, the Earth is flat, yay, and now there's absolute proof and we've all found out and it's indisputable and there it is and nobody denies it. And okay, let's imagine that hypothetical reality. Mainstream news, even Communist News Network, cannot deny, breaking, world is flat, solid evidence. Okay, let's pretend that that happens, right? How is that going to magically make the elites disappear and make Wall Street disappear and make the fiat money system somehow less fiat? And how will that bring people together to fight the globalists or whatever you want to call it when people are too busy fighting themselves? If all of a sudden it was absolutely final that the world is flat, done, proof,
well,
empirical evidence.
the simple answer to that question is it does nothing. It absolutely does nothing. It's just like the people who sit there and claim that the moon landings never happened. It's a globalist psyop designed to waste your time. Mm-hmm. They inject all this false information that appears realistic. They get people going on a tangent, and people buy into the information. They get hooked into it, like a fish gets hooked onto a piece of bait, and they go on this insistent path into a false reality of delusions of grandeur, thinking they're onto some grandiose conspiracy that, you know, these men that are on Medicare or, you know, this flat planet, you know, somehow exists, even though everything in all the scientific literature, everything that's been done through ancient times, all the way up to the modern confirmations of our own technological capability have proven otherwise. These people still want to hang on to that little glint of falsehood that somehow their little delusional fantasy of, oh, the Earth is flat, or oh no, we didn't actually do that. That was a government psyop or whatever. They hang on to this false little delusion, thinking that somehow solving that or trying to prove that right is somehow going to make all the other problems go away that are far more dramatic and far more problematic for the human species. That much less problematic. Well, it's not. It's designed to keep you distracted and keep you preoccupied. What do you think the elites are going to want you to focus on more? Whether or not the Earth is round or flat, or whether or not you know, they're committing these multi-billion-dollar genocidal wars for the profits of a few and killing millions in the process, and there's some grandiose conspiracy to wipe out humanity. Which one do you think they're going to want you to focus on more?
War makes more profit than anything. Like, seriously.
Exactly. War, agriculture, medicine, and the prison industrial complex, the health industrial complex, the military industrial complex, and the agricultural industrial complex. All of those things come together and they create this multi-quadrillion dollar conglomerate, clusterfuck, yeah, that screws the planet over in more ways than one. But we won't focus on that. We want to focus on whether or not the Earth is flat or the Earth is round, when you can clearly see by, you know, some private individuals who are not backed by any government affiliation whatsoever because they're doing things out of their own wallet. I mean, look at the size of that rocket. That was obviously built by private hands without any government interference whatsoever.
It's tiny.
It's tiny. It's tiny. It's not Apollo. It's not Space Transportation System grade. It's a private rocket built by a private venture, testing private technology on private funds. So now we've got to go from it's a government conspiracy to now all of a sudden the government has all of its tentacles in all of these other companies, and you know, somehow by unicorn magical fairies just knows randomly at every time when some amateur company or amateur individual decides to send something up there to be part of this grandiose conspiracy to create this round globe when we all know it's flat. I mean, see, you start going down on this pipeline where you start accusing normal people who are just out in their backyard having fun. You know, like, hey, I want to tether this weather balloon. You know, yeah, I'm just about to do that. You know, it's just going to go into that. You start telling people. You start accusing people who are just going into their backyards with their weather balloons, you know, that they take these same type of cameras and attach them to, you know, and make this really cool thing, send it up. Well, here.
Talk about a hot topic. We keep getting more and more viewers on this stream.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Weather balloon, GoPro.
Yeah, but for those of you just tuning in, seeing as I'm seeing the viewership climb, for those of you just tuning in, we're talking about the flat Earth topic, not in such a way as to so much prove or disprove anything, but just to talk about the science and kind of direct questions to the flat Earth community, showing them some evidence and just being like, okay, well, if it's fake, if it's CGI, if it's that, then, you know, where's the artifacts? Can you please show me? Can you please prove it? You know, I'm open-minded.
Okay. Here we go.
Sorry, I had to just catch people up because not everybody started when we started, so.
Gotcha. Okay, so here we go. Here's just a little amateur production, you know, done by some amateur guy in his backyard. You can see a house, you can see trees, you can see a shed, you can see, you know, just random stuff, just random normal people doing their thing. Time 11 a.m., you know, they're, okay, we're going to have some fun. Let's do something cool, you know. No big deal, right? Okay, here goes the weather balloon.
The roof
here's
is
the
pyramid.
houses, here's the roofs, here's the fields, the trees, you know. You know, it's spinning, it's going up through the clouds, continuing to climb. We're going into the cloud layer now. Can't really see anything on the ground now. Things are continuing to climb. Okay, we're poking through the clouds. We're above the clouds now.
How much does this cost? How much does this cost?
Oh, weather balloon. You could probably get a good weather balloon, I imagine, for... Well, I could even Google it so that way I've got the right estimate. Let's go for it.
Yeah, because the people, whether they're flat earthers, globe earthers, or whatever they are, if people want to test this theory themselves, then they're obviously going to want to know whether or not it falls into their budget.
Okay, here's one here for as cheap as $30. Scientific sales.
Plus,
here's one here, professional meteorological weather balloon, 16-inch diameter, 100 cubic feet, $79.95, which is about what I was talking about for originally when we were talking in private. You know.
Yeah, plus about $250 for attaching the GoPro, but basically for significantly well under $1,000, you can do this.
Yeah. Yeah, or you could even get like a cheap camcorder or something like that. You know, I mean, whatever you got. But yeah, you could get one of those military weather balloons that they make. They're out of the mylar fiber. You can pay anywhere between like what Walmart's charging here up to like $120 for a good surplus stock military weather balloon. And a GoPro will run you, you know, at low end, if you get one of their bottom end GoPros, you know, $200 all the way, you know. You might even be able to get one cheaper if it's used, $150, you know. $200, $250 on the low end, going up to $700 or $800, depending on what you buy.
Careful there, buddy. That horizon's looking too round.
Yeah, starting to look around, isn't it? Yeah, starting to kind of look around, starting to kind of look like the Earth. Yeah, just continue going here. We keep climbing now. You start to kind of see the cloud shelf, and you start to see other parts of the continent there. Sun's looking pretty bright. Yeah, getting up into the higher parts of the stratosphere. Yeah, Earth's really starting to look around now, starting to see that horizon just disappear and turn into...
I have a question.
Balloon burst.
My question with the video we're watching here, My question is simply this. Why would Jed Clampett and his cousin wife Mildred be a part of a government conspiracy to pretend that the earth isn't flat? Because, like, you know, you're looking at some like Green Acres kind of like, you know, almost trailer parky kind of environment there. Oh my God, the roofs were pyramid shape. It's the mark of the Illuminati. They were there. Uh-oh. But, you know, it's like, why in the fuck would the government need Jed fucking Clampett in his you know, $300 give or take weather balloon to post a video to YouTube to help cover up that the earth is flat? And and regardless of my tone, because yeah, I believe what I believe and I have a hard time believing the earth is flat thing, that is a serious question. Like, if someone can prove me fucking wrong, please. I'm not addicted to being right. If somebody can prove me wrong on something, by all means, evidence, show me, walk me through, take me for the ride. You know what I mean?
But Dave, for that to happen, they would have to prove every single one of these videos to be a complete hoax and a complete fake, which is impossible to do because it's not a hoax and it's not a fake. These are actual videos that actual people took using actual equipment that you can go down to Walmart or Best Buy and get for really cheap, for relatively cheap, even cheaper than. For those of you who are just joining us, I was talking about how earlier for $2,000 or an equivalent amount, like for a first-class airline ticket around, you know, around a large part of the globe, you can go to New York and fly in fighter jets.
Yeah,
big float. You can actually go up with an instructor, go clear up to the edge of space and see the Earth for yourself. You can literally look down and go, yeah, I see a curve there. Yeah, it doesn't look too flat to me.
You mentioned this earlier, and I got to say that seeing as $2,000 as, you know, a really awesome vacation or a halfway decent used car, I would say that any of these flat Earth researchers that are really serious about trying to disprove this, that, or whatever, even if they believe the Earth is flat, well, guess what? What more perfect of a way to prove it than to spend the $2,000, go up with a camcorder and go, aha, see, look, we're all the way up here and it's flat. So yeah, I don't think that that's actually what would happen. But from the perspective of a flat Earth researcher, wouldn't it be worth the $2,000 investment? Just saying. From their point of view, them wanting to prove the globe earthers wrong, here's your opportunity to quote unquote prove them wrong. Take the $2,000, go up to the edge of space in, you know, the jet, and you know, if you're confident that what you're going to see is a flat Earth, there's no reason to not take the trip and have your little portable camcorder ready. I mean, you could even get like a used flip video thing. Like, I just want to show you. This is my flip video. You know, when they're new, they cost anywhere between $100 and $300, but you know, you can get them even cheaper than that, like, you know, Amazon, eBay, a whole bunch of places. So, you know, you take up some little pocket-sized thing like this with you when you go up into that plane, and aha, it's flat. I can record it and put it on YouTube. Yay! I mean, again, I don't believe that that's going to be the end result, but speaking from the perspective of a flat Earth researcher who believes, oh yeah, it's definitely got to be flat, then this is the perfect opportunity to prove it. It's totally worth the $2,000, and that's a used car, people. Just saying.
Quite. Let me scroll down. Yeah, here's the video right here on Facebook.
Oh, that's cool.
I shared it on NASA HQ a while ago, but yeah, here's the video where I found it. You know, see the guy with the camera on his head? He's doing it. See, there he is, right up there. Good altitude, seeing the curvature of the Earth. There it is, flying in a big fighter jet, you know.
Hey, can you click hide on that little bottom strip down there?
Yeah, I can do that. Skirting from the edge of space to IG maneuvers, you know. For $2,000, you can go ahead and do this. I mean, you know, which is pretty damn cool if you're not, you know.
And even if you are a flat earther, from that perspective, here's your opportunity. For only $2,000, you can blow the lid off the entire conspiracy just by bringing one of these little cameras along with you, so that you know it's not going to be anything edited by the man, you know, so that you can have your own personally taken copy of it and go back on YouTube and say, see, I have final proof for everyone in the world that this bitch is flat. So, I mean, I'm being completely serious. I mean, honestly, go up in that jet, $2,000. That's really not that expensive for something like that. That's a used car. Seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
it's also like
there's plenty of
like it's a really good professional keyboard too. Like, you know, the one like Michael Jackson or whatever, you know, playing on the keyboards up on stage, Metallica, whatever, you know, $2,000's like a really good professional keyboard. So whichever analogy you want to use, it's not that much money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's same sort of thing, you know. And there are a lot of private companies out there where you can go up and do stuff like that and do it for relatively cheap. Aviation is becoming, as time goes on, and it will continue to do so, become more affordable, and space is thankfully following that suit. It's just going to take the time it's going to take, you know.
I was
given what Dave, you've been talking quite a bit. I kind of want to continue.
Concord, just go into the.
I'll go into all of that. Don't worry about it. I got the note right in front of me. Just
that's all I wanted to say.
Yep, it's all good. But anyway, continuing on. There are fortunately access to space, cheap access to space, is becoming far more affordable in this day and age. But even still, it's going to take the time it's going to take, and innovation isn't an overnight process or an overnight thing. But going back to the video here, you know, there are going to be more and more ways to be able to confirm and disprove that theory, and it's eventually going to come to the point where you're just going to be that more silly and crazy to sit there and claim that the Earth is flat, even though there's all this other stuff around you. And it must be really interesting for these flat earthers who are alone in their ideas with their families, especially if they have families who, you know, or other family members who go flying, for instance, who actually go up and fly around and see things for themselves, you know, who are passionate about aviation or into aviation and enjoy it as a hobby. I come from an aviation family, and there are no flat earthers in my family, thankfully. But for those who, you know, just do it by themselves because it's what they're passionate about, but see here, you can see it landing back in the grass and doing all that stuff. And tracking, you know, they've got the tracking position on their phone and they walk up to it and all that stuff, tracked on Google and all of that. And they walk out to the camera. This is what disproves a lot of these conspiracy theorists who sit there and claim that all this stuff is fake. You know, this stuff is from beginning to end. It's inconclusive. There's the box right there. Got the camera in it, picking up the camera. Yep, they're there picking up the camera exactly where it was laying. Hasn't moved.